Hello, my name is Ana Garcia, and I'm going to be talking to you today about what I consider to be one of UNM's most important grand challenges, and that is the one that has to do with homelessness. It's not one from this year, it's one that's from a little bit back, 2022, and I think that it is definitely, and you can see it in our everyday lives, relevant to us here at UNM and in Albuquerque and the greater Albuquerque area. And that's because when was the last time that you drove around Albuquerque to and from work, running errands, getting to campus, things like that, where you didn't witness an instance of homelessness? You didn't see someone sleeping on the stoop of a building. You didn't see someone begging for money on the McDonald's drive-through in the intersection of like the light next to your house. When was the last time you didn't witness an instance of homelessness? And in that same breath, also, it's not uncommon to hear stories about homelessness, to hear about someone whose family member is homeless and how that they and the rest of their family get together at times to drive around and see if they could find this family member, offer to buy them meal, see if they're even doing well, if they're alive, things like that. So clearly homelessness is something that impacts our day-to-day life, whether it's personal, we know someone who's homeless or has experienced homelessness, or whether that is by just witnessing instances of it and seeing how prevalent it is in our community. A lot of times people feel that homelessness is something that doesn't have to do with them, something that has a lot more to do with the person experiencing homelessness more than has to do with them. And that's not necessarily true. We all exist and participate and endorse the society that even allows homelessness to be an option. And homelessness has a lot to do with the intersection of a lot of different factors and things going on in lives, like housing, health care, insurance, a lot of the systems that are in place to help people who tend to fall into homelessness, people who have addiction, people who have mental health issues, people who are veterans, people who are more likely to fall into homelessness. There is also just a lack of systems in place and structures and institutions there to help those people before they even reach the point of homelessness. So homelessness is something that we should view more as a symptom of things going on in our society versus something that is a symptom of something going on with an individual. We should look at the structures that have allowed people to become homeless, because if we think about it, homelessness is something that we've allowed to be true in our society. Native Americans who lived here in the Americas before us, they subscribed to an ideology where land was not owned and could not be owned by someone. And that ideology probably didn't allow for homelessness, considering no one could own land. Everyone had access to a space to live, to living on land. Homelessness, and a lot of our architecture shows that, pushes people out. People are not allowed to live just wherever. We find discomfort seeing people build houses and structures tents in alleyways. We tear them down. We do things to remove that versus to kind of help place those people in a home or even prevent people from getting there. And of course, efforts are being made and whatever. And let me not get distracted by that tangent. I keep doing that. But basically, homelessness has a lot to do with a lot of different systems and is intertied. And Journal of Health and Human Services supports that. They say structural explanations suggesting the underlying causes of homelessness identify the increase in poverty in the United States as a key factor in homelessness and a correlation that exists with the lack of affordable housing, healthcare, and mental health provisions. And what we can do, what an important step is educating people on that fact that homelessness is more of a symptom of our society, and that we shouldn't put so much of that blame on the individual who has become homeless, because that creates an attitude that is reluctant to help someone who's homeless, reluctant to look at the systems that might have allowed this to happen, look at ways we can step in before someone becomes homeless, step in by having systems that support our veterans, people who are mentally ill, people who struggle with addiction. By doing those things, that prevents homelessness, and that ultimately would help the most. So by first fixing our attitudes, curing our attitudes, then we can maybe consider curing homelessness. And that's That's why it's important to make efforts to destigmatize homelessness and look at our part in it as a society, so that we can start looking for solutions together, be willing to put the money in, because homelessness and the issue of homelessness requires a multifaceted, multi-faced approach. It involves the government, it involves nonprofits, and it involves us as a community stepping in and supporting members of our community who are unable to afford things. And part of that starts by fixing our attitudes about what causes homelessness, what homelessness means, and honestly, how far away homelessness is from us, and stop removing ourselves from the world that homelessness is able to exist in, because clearly we exist alongside it, and it's something that is possible, and it is able to happen to us, it's able to happen to others, and it's an issue that we should consider irrelevant, because us so far considering it irrelevant is part of what has allowed homelessness to